This is Eitan Weinstein.
And I'm Naor Menninger, and you're listening to Two Nice Jewish Boys.
This podcast is made in collaboration with the Jewish Journal. Check them out at jewishjournal.com. Also in collaboration with Arutz Sheva, israelnationalnews.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, visit 2njb.com/donate. From the time of the cavemen to this day, painting has been deeply rooted in the DNA of mankind. It's as primal as humanity itself and can teach us much about what it means to be human. Maybe that's why millions of people visit the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa or to Rome to behold the Sistine Chapel. Maybe through these works of art, they can understand themselves. Miriam Cabesa's career has reached peaks many Israeli artists can only dream of. For the past 20 years, she's lived in New York City, devoting herself to her art. Since the 90s, Cabesa has been known as one of the most important Israeli artists. She was born in Casablanca, Morocco, grew up in a kibbutz, and became extremely influential, showcasing in the Tel Aviv Museum of Art and various galleries in New York City and throughout the United States, and even representing Israel in the Venice Biennale. Now she's back in Israel, which gives us the rare opportunity to talk with her about her art and her life story. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi.
How are you?
Very good, very good.
Thanks for hosting us here.
Yeah, this is
your
beautiful.
loft.
This is beautiful. So why are you an artist?
Wow. From the cave. Since the cave, man.
You started in the cave.
I started in a cave. Well, actually, I first time I had the impact of a painting, seeing a painting, was on television as a child. I saw a Rembrandt looking at me through the television, and I was sure that he was real because he looked really deep into my eyes, and I thought, wow, this is so powerful.
In black and white.
Black and white, yeah. But that's just an anecdote, but the story is that as we moved from Casablanca to Israel, we moved to Tiberias. And my father used to play music, jazz. He was a trumpet player, and he had nowhere to play, so he started copying Picasso's. So our living room became a studio. So I grew up thinking Picasso is my father. So you can guess that painting was pretty normal for me.
Wow. So when you saw the real Picassos, you always thought this was the works of your dad.
I was like, this is my father. What do you mean? Actually,
amazing.
It's funny because one of the paintings he copied was the Ladies from Avignon, which is in the MoMA. Okay. So I took a picture of me next to the painting, which is 4 meters by 3 meters. My father made it 120 by 120. So when I showed my father the original, he said, "Oh, it's much easier than what I did."
So they took it well that you wanted to become an artist, or
no.
they?
What do you mean took it well?
I mean, I don't know. If my parents are my mother is Polish, so
yeah.
if I told her that, she would probably
a
be
lawyer
very
if you're not a lawyer.
Exactly. So I don't know about Casablancan parents,
Yeah.
but
well, to be honest, in that sense, my parents are very, very special people. I don't think they ever took or didn't take whatever I brought to them, but. I think they would be insulted if I was a lawyer, to be honest. They'd be like, no, don't. But I don't know. I never questioned. I never called myself an artist. I always called myself a painter. I didn't like the title artist. It was like too grandiose and too much like giving myself credit for something, for doing my work. But actually what I like is to put paint over a surface and to see how it covers the surface. It can be any kind of surface, and I can enjoy it. So that's the beginning of it. It's just pure joy of doing it, and also frustration, a lot of frustration and joy. It comes together. And then it develops to a whole, experience of I think that for an artist, for me, from my own experience, everything I experience goes and comes through my art. Everything in my life, my love, myself, everything I see in the world, everything I understand, everything I don't understand, everything goes through the painting. So for me, there is no separation anymore. It's not my job, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just me.
It's like breathing.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Wait, so at what age did you move to Israel from Casablanca?
I moved in the age of 3, which I don't remember, but...
You have no memories whatsoever?
No,
of
I don't.
Casablanca?
No, I don't.
And also not from the moving itself?
No, I don't have any memory.
So your first memories from Tiberias?
My first memories were probably when I was around 5 years old or something. Do you remember yourself, 3 years old?
Maybe one scene.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I remember anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's like very funny. Like Roland Barthes talks about photography. He has a book about photography, and he talks a lot about images from our childhood, about even his mother as a child, which makes no sense. Like it was much before he was born, yeah? And the whole idea is that we build our memories through our photographs. So I do have few images from Casablanca, but I don't remember them. But I have the photos.
And they talked at home Moroccan or?
Well, my parents, I speak French. My parents spoke French, but when they were fighting, they would switch to Moroccan. So scream at each other in Moroccan
So curse words.
Yeah, does not sound good.
So you know, Tahamjelk?
Ah, nice. That's a good one.
Okay. Is this Hanna?
I don't know that.
That one I think means burn in hell.
Burn in hell. Well,
and the first one?
I won't be surprised. Tahamjalo.
Means like, Tahamjalo, it means like, may your luck fall.
Well, listen, it's like, you know, I went to Morocco 3 years ago on my birthday.
For the first time?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And it was such an amazing experience to be there and not even, you know, do the regular thing of finding my parents' house, not doing that, just being in that environment of that kind of energy, Moroccan energy. But I don't know, it's...
Do you remember kind of the first time you put paint to a surface as you described it?
I have to say, you know, I don't know. I know we don't have much time, so we have plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Okay. But
she's only discovering this. She's like, really? You guys are going to be here for how long?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like it's a whole relationship. Since I started very, very young painting, and I took it very seriously. I started in the age of 6. I can say that I really felt like this is what I'm gonna do. This is the purpose in my life. This is my life purpose.
That's very early.
I know.
How did it happen?
I'm laughing because it's a long story. But just to make it a little bit short, actually my parents were divorced after fighting so much in Moroccan. They got divorced. You can imagine. If you talk Moroccan all the time, you get divorced. And and then I moved to a kibbutz.
Okay.
And
you moved with one of your parents? Or you
no,
moved
I
alone?
moved by myself in the age of 13.
Okay.
So actually the closest thing to my heart was painting. From a very young age, it was the most intimate, closest thing to do for me.
As escapism of sorts, or?
Also as a way to deal with your existence. It's like almost like, who am I? I hold a pencil and I can draw. This is who I am. You know, it's like, I don't know, very existential question about who you are. And I feel very blessed. I mean, you know, I spend a lot of time in therapy trying to blame my parents, but I'm also very grateful for what they gave me, which is a chance to ask very deep questions in very young age. And today when I look at kids, I don't have kids, but when I look at other people's kids, I'm always thinking, don't be so scared to let them be bored a little bit, because when you're bored, your imagination starts working, and you start asking questions. You know, there's a little bit of sadness when you're like bored, you don't know what to do with yourself, and this is where you start digging. And there is something about being an artist. The hard part of being an artist is that you are alone most of the time. Like 95% of your life, you're alone at the studio.
Like a writer.
Yes. And the blessing or the benefit is that you're actually playing all your life with paint, which is so amazing.
I have to ask I think Noel kind of touched on it, but you said your parents divorced at a very young age. So was there, which, I don't know, there's a whole spectrum, I guess, of how dramatic and painful that can be, but, and I don't think in any world it's like it's a happy day. So is there pain in the early development of your art or your painting?
Yeah, I think not more or less than any other creature on this earth that has to deal with being here. It's not a walk in the park, as you said before. It's not. It's always like there is challenges, no matter where you come from or, what's your background. But I think that it's interesting that with art, we believe, I'm saying the big community of artists in a way, but I would like to talk for myself. I believe that pain is like a fuel for creating a movement.
Which brings me to the question, a very blunt question, but do you think you gotta be fucked up to do good art?
Well, I already said that everybody's fucked up. To be a good artist, you have to be really good fucked up, which means you have to use it right. Just being fucked up does not help. Yeah, we know there's a lot of fucked up people, but having awareness and fucked up. Let's make a recipe: awareness, fucked up, desire, being discipline, very important. Discipline is the
hard.
most important.
It's hard to also be fucked up
and discipline.
And awareness, maybe.
And awareness and conscious.
Seems almost dangerous, because there's other people you think of that are fucked up and have discipline and they did awful things.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like...
Most of them politicians.
Yeah.
Either you're a politician or an artist.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a thin line.
It's all, I guess, we're not that different. We have all the elements, but in different orders of playing with them. In the end of the day, I mean, a person makes it's his own choice of how to use what he has to create his own life, and there is a beginning and an end to it. There is no, as we spoke before, you can take it slow or fast. It has, an end. So in that journey, you choose to, or you're chosen to do whatever you do. In that matter, I'm very very religious.
Yeah.
So I'm very religious because I believe that there is something bigger than me that guides me through that journey.
But not necessarily consciously.
Well, it is conscious because I'm saying it.
Yeah.
I admit it, and I surrender to it also. I'm taking it under consideration that I'm not the boss. I'm not the big boss. Even with my work, I'm surrendering to the fact that there is something bigger than me, that he is guiding me through that process, and I have full trust.
So that actually, it's interesting because I look around and I have a couple of questions about the art, but there's one that kind of comes up from that. I mean, our listeners who aren't watching won't be able to see this, but your art you can see certain things. I mean, I don't know.
Patterns.
In this, I see a shawl, like a talit almost. And in this, I see like pencil shavings. And I see here a building, but it's very abstract. And I wonder, because you said you surrender yourself, I wonder, like, going in, do you have any idea what you're about to paint? Or
Yes and no. Yes and no. My work, in general, I don't use brushes to paint. And actually, I kind of developed a language which did not exist in a way in art. It's funny to say it that way, but I'm going to just say it.
own it.
Yeah. But I think the idea is that I came to a point when I realized that just to deal with creating just more illusions was not satisfying for my soul, was not, wasn't enough. So I think the first gesture that I did that was meaningful to me was kissing the surface. And by repeatedly kissing the surface, creating an image of a figure. And I did that when I was madly in love. And I felt like, wow, this is so amazing that you feel something. And that action of kissing, which we all do, but when you put paint, it becomes a painting.
So
An
you
image.
kissed the canvas?
I kissed the paper with paint
on
on my lips.
Uh-huh.
And repeatedly kissing, and then there was like almost like a figure, like you could see where the eyes were, everything was kissing. And I really, really enjoyed that kind of action, like kind of very body action painting. Not like Jackson Pollock, but you can say in that family of action painting.
More intimate than Jackson.
Very intimate, very, very intimate. And I was a student there at that time in art college in Israel. And I brought the work. I was making a lot of works with my kissing, and I got such a great feedback, and people really liked it. My teachers, they were like really very surprised to see that kind of action, yeah. And I realized that actually it's almost like painting is part of my life. It's not just a palette that you choose colors and you create another world. It's actually in my world. It's in my life. I'm just jumping now really to the present. I also painted now in Be'eri, in a gallery, in a Kibbutz Be'eri, the whole space, using my breath to create a rhythm, like this table that we're sitting on, to create that rhythm with my body and my breath to create an image, yeah? So I'm really playing with that a lot.
How does that work?
Wow, it's hard to explain painting in a microphone, seriously. It's like telling you how a mango now.
Maybe in Moroccan it would.
No, really, to be honest, that would be really challenging.
Okay.
But
fair enough.
I'm willing to give you a few clues about how it works.
Okay.
It's
just an appetizer.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, in the end of the day, I hope that listeners will Google me and look at the work and really get a sense of.
Even better, visit exhibitions where.
Yeah, or visit shows. Tomorrow there is an opening. I don't know if when are you?
No, it'll take someday.
But where is there an opening for us?
For Beta Ir. Beta Ir, it's on Bialik Street. You should come. It's a really beautiful group show of women, only women. Really great. There is a lot of really interesting things happening in Tel Aviv and in Israel, and I've been almost like forced to stay here. I was hoping to share time between New York and Tel Aviv, and I got very, very busy working here. But if I'm going back to the painting, so there is the classic way of looking at painting, like it's a window that you look outside, yeah? It's like you create an illusion. The illusion represents the outside world. Yes, or there is another way of the abstract painting. Yes. And I think that I'm trying to bring something little different, which is almost describing something that cannot be described through painting. Almost like a vibration or this kind of movement. That
natural patterns maybe is, or something, but like, something from the body, from I don't know.
The natural world.
Something like that, yeah.
No, it's I mean, whatever it is, you're doing a fantastic job. Because it really is. I mean, I wish our listeners were able to sit here and look around and see this.
You see, this one looks like a Bauhaus
building.
Yes,
exactly.
So I had the whole series of work, a body of work that were so much about the environment.
There's another one down here on the floor. That's also.
Yeah.
So was this always did you always approach art from a more abstract place, or did you begin from like a classical, place?
I did the whole journey of like learning, the traditional way of working, and having such a intense and strong dialogue with it. It's almost like every time I guess musicians, it's very much like musicians. You play an instrument and you're like, wow, this is it. I'm going to express myself through that. But then you realize that it's not giving you all the, the opportunities you need to show yourself. And so I think I moved through art history, I can say, learning so much to get to the place where I felt like I don't know anything, to be, okay, what now? And almost like jump into a place where I had to look at this painting with my hands. I'm actually using my hands to create the image. So it all started from that, from a simple touch in the surface that turned very three-dimensional.
Yeah.
So there is something very digital and very primitive also, no? There's
Yeah. No, it's incredible.
And
but there's planning here, right? Because I mean, you obviously smoothed out the background before, and you said, okay, I'm gonna create a surface, and then
of course you can't do anything without planning something out. Not even.
But there's I don't know. There's some abstract art, and there's even some abstract that I see, here, which I feel like you could look at and say, okay, someone approached it just raw, just kind of.
Even the most abstract painting you can imagine, had a structure.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think that you would tell the difference. You will see if it's a child's work or adult work. I mean, sometimes we as artists get jealous from kids because they can do things so freely. They don't have the structure. But in the end of the day, when you have a language, it's already a structure. A language is a structure. So you already, if it's abstract or whatever it is, action painting or whatever it is, it's already in the structure of the limits and the possibilities.
I want to get back to your story, the story of your career. So you told us you studied art in the late 80s, something like that?
I studied art, probably, yeah.
So in the who's counting? But in the 90s, so you were a young artist, and you built a name for yourself. So and art, in the end of the day, if you want to make a living out of it, there's the promotional, the PR aspect of it, and you gotta build a reputation. So how did you go about to do that and build yourself in the beginning of your career?
Without Instagram.
Yeah, without Instagram, no internet,
Right.
no Facebook. Wow.
It's crazy. How did
Caveman.
people live back then?
I'm telling you, caveman. Even cavemen had internet. To be honest, I don't think it's so planned out like that. It's not like I did. What happened to me is because what I directed. I'm not the director. As I said before, I'm totally not the director. And even an artist, I don't feel so good giving myself that title. I think that one of the things that really guided me as a young artist, and also when I graduated from college, was that if I work 8-10 hours a day, I have to make my living. No matter what you do. If you work 8-10 hours a day, you're going to make your living.
Mm-hmm. So you always manage...
Even if you scratch your head 10 hours a day, you're going to make your living. I promise you.
Well,
you have to.
You have
to. Otherwise, you're not going to keep scratching your head.
It's almost like a law that exists in the universe. It's not like we make plans and then they happen. We just tap into something that is already there. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have that trust. And when they don't have the trust, it's very hard to get into that journey. For instance, I'll give you an example. Like a lot of students that learned with me, study with me, were so concerned about how they're going to make their living, so they found other jobs that they worked for 10 hours a day. But I didn't do that. I went to the studio and said, I'm going to work 8-10 hours a day, and something is going to happen.
But how did that happen? I mean, it's an interesting question. Like, how did you end up going from a person who paints to a person who sells their paintings? Even if it wasn't directed by you.
I don't know if I can answer that question because I still, it's been, 25 years, my career, even more, that I make my living from art, and I never tried to think of money as the reason I make. Of course, I don't think of it as reason I make art, and I'm always grateful and not surprised, but I'm very grateful every time I sell, because it surprises me that I do my thing and somebody wants it and enjoys it. Again, I don't know if I can really answer that question. To be honest, it's not that simple. As I get older and more experience with that, I know it's more unclear how it happens. It's not that simple.
What makes an art expensive? This world is, people are fascinated by it. There's been now the painting of, I think Hockney just sold one of his swimming pools for dozens of millions of dollars. And you wonder, how does this world work? It makes no sense sometimes. Sometimes you see amazing paintings, they sell for nothing. Sometimes you see things that you don't understand, they sell for billions.
I think it's really interesting to think that art can give us a chance to get confused like that about money, about value, about how come this one and the other one not. I mean, it doesn't make sense at all. And it's okay. And what makes sense, to be honest? I don't know. If I'll jump into that pool of making sense, I don't know. For me, it doesn't make sense to have kids, for instance. Does it make it, reasonable? Does it make other people crazy? I don't know. In the end of the day, I think that I know it's a very extreme example I gave you now, because it's so obvious that that's what we have to do to be, to continue our existence. But there is so many kids already, and so many people in this earth. We don't need more. There's enough. Relax. So,
It's a cliche question.
Now, about art, you can say there is so much art. There is so much money in it. Why? Why do we need that? Well, I guess people make kids because they love doing it.
People buy
Making
art because
kids.
and
They love making kids.
yeah, sometimes.
So there are people that love making art,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, and then they needed to feel like they exist. They need to feel like they're leaving something behind, maybe. And maybe there is something about, as your child is the most special one, so my child, my art is the most special one, and I feel very satisfied having done that. There is a lot of
It's a good
emotions.
metaphor. Some kids also end up making a lot of money, and some kids end up costing
Yeah,
their parents a
A
lot,
lot of money. Exactly,
So,
exactly.
was-
Yeah, and and it, for me, it's like I always felt really, really rich because I have done what I really wanted to do
How many paintings did you paint throughout
in
your
my
career?
life.
Yes.
Wow.
There's no way you keep count.
Probably thousands of paintings.
How
Yeah.
in a year? How
No,
many?
I don't know. I can't.
Is there like a day where you wake up and you're just like
Yes.
you make 100
Yes.
and then
Not
like
100, but I can
Yeah.
be very productive.
prolific
Spec-
one day,
yes.
but then there can be like a whole drought.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's the way
What's-
I'm working.
What's the longest drought you've ever been on?
Not very long. I mean, at the end of the day, if I don't paint for too long, I will feel like really so useless that no, it's not a good idea for me. But I think that when I work, really get into it and work strong, I feel like almost like swimming. I feel like it's so natural to me,
Mm-hmm.
and it brings me such joy. It's almost like I don't know. It
Have you
feels
ever painted something and said, "There's no way anybody's ever laying their eyes on this"?
of course. Yeah.
And then
I,
did
you
you
know,
actually?
I throw away a lot of paintings,
Yeah.
and I have no problem doing that. And I know when there is
So
a
people
piece.
can come to the garbage can here and maybe
No,
find the.
no, I make sure to
Okay.
destroy them. But there was a painting I made 20 years ago, and I knew it was a museum piece. I just felt it, that it was so good. And there were a few people who wanted to buy it, and I didn't sell it. And in the end of the day, now it's the Israeli Museum just bought it.
Wow.
And when they came to the studio, the first thing I said, "Let me show you your painting."
And it waited for years.
Yeah, it waited like 22 years.
Wow, 22.
I
That's
didn't. I
amazing.
never invited them to see it or anything, but I knew that this painting
Wow.
belongs to the Israeli Museum,
It's prophetic.
and it happened. And I think that every painting has a place that it belongs to. And sometimes I have people that come to my studio, and I feel like when they get connected to a painting and they buy it and they need to have it, it's very meaningful to them, and it's very meaningful in their lives. They
So-
need it. It's not like a furniture that you you use it. That talking about value of the art, it has a very, very strong impact on people's life. The art they live with.
Mhm.
And I think that's something also really beautiful. I feel like if we made that comparison of children and art, I feel like they are my children, and they are finding homes that are very important to them.
Being adopted. They're
Being
adopted by
yeah, totally.
by cool couples.
My thousands of children.
You're like Genghis Khan.
Yeah, wow, I like
But
that.
Is this? Are these all your paintings? Because there's one here at the end that is like slightly seems like a different style.
Yeah, no, they're all mine. They're all mine. I have a
Do
collection,
you feel
but
like
it's not
there's
here.
like there's an evolution, like there's a progression in your style that you can really point at and say, this is this period in my life and this is this period?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a progression, but there is a dialogue with the work. And the work is telling me a lot of things about life, and we're telling each other secrets. The painting is telling me secrets, and I'm telling the painting a secret. But in the end of the day, there is the third element, yeah, which is the viewer. And the viewer might have associations like you did. You did that looked like talit, that looked like that. And that's your story,
Yeah.
which is not mine.
Secrets.
For me, it's not a talit.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's totally legit.
I'm not good at keeping secrets, I guess, because I just, revealed it.
You know,
I mean, yeah.
all
Good art is for interpretation, I feel.
Yes. Well, as two good Jewish boys, you know that Judaism is full of secrets. Yeah.
Yep.
And we sit in the place where secrets and knowledge is always hidden, and there's so many layers to it. And I think that it's interesting as a Jewish artist to have that way of thinking that touches everything in our lives, the way we think, yeah? As Jewish people, we look at everything through those glasses of the secret, of knowledge, of
Fear.
Intimacy,
Lots of
fear, all of it, joy, love, God, everything is in it. Even if the most abstract, I think, is the most religion thing is abstract. I don't think that knowledge in the Sfirot, in the Kabbalah, it's all about abstract.
So why did you go to New York?
I don't know. It's a good question. This is the big question. No. I'm joking.
You just took your baggage and...
I actually went to New York thinking that, I had such a strong beginning of my career in Israel, and I had a museum show, and I represented Israel in the Venice Biennale, galleries, sold a lot, had a lot of success, and I was like, okay, I'm 33 years old. I've done everything. No, I felt like really I needed something, just another experience. And to be honest, I thought of staying in New York for a year or two. But New York, it's a very seductive place. You get there and you can't let go. You fall in love. It's really very emotional, very falling in love. You just find yourself getting deep into it. And as I am, and my work is, I had a studio, I started showing, I started being in dialogue with other people, so just I built my life there. It just happened.
You said you lived there for 20 years and you kind of just sunk into it and it pulled you, but you had a family here. I wonder, was that pulling you back? You had friends here.
Yeah. Well, I went to the kibbutz, my parents actually left Israel. My father moved to Paris and Finland. He got remarried. And my mother moved to Canada. So.
And you have no siblings?
I do have, and now two of my sisters are here in Tel Aviv and a sister in Canada.
Okay.
So I have family pretty much all over the place. So family was not really the reason for me of staying or living. And as you already know from knowing me a little bit, that my connection with my art is very, very strong. To be moving with my art anywhere I go, it feels like really strong connection, yeah? So moving to New York was such a great experience, so much art and so many good museums.
If it's not do we have much time?
I don't know.
Let's ask Miriam.
One last question, or maybe last. I don't know.
Not
but,
last, but maybe two more.
If it's not too personal,
Yeah.
you said that your parents moved away after they got divorced. I wonder, first of all, what age and how that must have felt, that whole experience.
Wow, you're taking me always back there. You like going back there.
I feel like it's...
Why, your
I don't
parents
know.
got divorced or something?
No, but I feel maybe they should have. No,
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. Chas
It's
v'chalila.
okay, it's okay.
But I'm wondering, like, I feel like art is, like you said, it's an expression of our existence, and that's a big part of your existence.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't want to dictate that.
It's not a
but-
big part of my existence, actually. It's
Okay.
not. No, I feel almost funny talking about it. I don't feel like it's that. Not that it's not a big deal. It's just not a big part of who I am and what I am today.
Mhm.
I think that the spiritual part of painting is so interesting to me. Is a big part, and the intimacy with myself and my work is very strong.
Mhm.
All the rest is like things that happened,
Mhm.
and it's like a condition. It's like the weather. The weather happened. It's not. I don't take it personally so much
Yeah.
anymore, and even if I took it personally, it was for my own benefit. In the end of the day, I'm very grateful for everything, for that journey,
Mhm.
the way it happened.
I mean that is an incredible impact. To be able to come out of that with a positive,
Totally.
perspective is.
I agree. It's very positive in the end of the day, positive experience. I don't know. I feel like, everything where we come in touch with so many things that are objects that were done outside of a human touch, yeah? And I'm not talking about just the craft of making art. I'm talking about putting your soul into that craft. And that's something that vibrates through the work. And I think that's what makes art so amazing. That you can feel almost that energy still alive in the work. It's still moving. It's still kind of breathing. And you can see when you go to people's houses and people that have art, there is something really amazing. I'm always, by the way, amazed by the cavemen, talking about that introduction you made about painting, because they had the desire to create images from the beginning of everything, even putting their hand, the impact of their hand, leaving a trace of their hand, or other images, or even abstract images that were discovered in a cave.
I read that I read a bit about it before the podcast, and I read that the most ancient piece of art known to man in a cave in Spain is a red dot. And around the red dot, there are a bit later things like hands, but the most ancient thing they found was a red spot.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's and I think that it's beyond what we even imagine, that impact that we have, that the impact it has on us, those images, those paintings, they have a very strong impact. And I think that we need it for our souls. It's so important to us. And that's why I think it's still such a big deal, and that's why it touches money in such a way.
Yeah.
I mean, also to remind us that money is real and abstract at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's a means to an end. I have to ask one last question about one of your latest pieces when you took this Brooklyn apartment and the story behind it. You got to tell us the story.
Wow. So the story is that, I had some work was supposed to be done at my studio, some renovations, and I received a temporary space in an old apartment in Williamsburg. And when I moved in, it was really messy. I started cleaning the place and really, throwing things out, and realized there was a lady living there for, 50 years. finding some photos, 2 photos of her and her family. So I felt kind of, a little bit bad or weird about the fact that she went in old people's house, now the apartment, she's in the end of her journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to make a homage and painted just one line on the wall in the living room. And then I just kept on going. But I did the whole living room, including the furnitures and everything.
Wow.
And I just covered everything. By the way, it took me 8 days and 1 tube of paint.
Really?
The whole apartment, the whole living room.
Wow.
Which is
One
nothing.
tube?
One tube of Winsor & Newton oil paint. I used the same paint as I use for canvas. And I treated it as a painting. I just painted all over it. Like everything was a canvas. And, I wasn't even thinking about it too much. I was just doing it from morning till night for 8 days. And then I opened it to the public. And I asked people not to take photos, not to turn it into a background for a selfie, just to be present in that space. And I recorded a conversation with people. And it was so fascinating to see and to hear their experience. And what also happened to me that was so powerful was that after sitting for like 2 weeks and like being in that space all that time, looking outside of the window, everything seemed like it was painted, also the outside, because the environment inside was such a painting that you looked outside and it looked like it was painted. And that kind of was such a gift, I think, from doing that piece. It almost like took me to another another level.
Started
Totally
seeing the Matrix.
Yeah, totally seeing the Matrix.
Nice.
And I think there's something about that also is nice in art, that it reminds you of things like that we can't remember without a reminder. We have to have reminders. So it's good for us. It gets us...
It's therapeutic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Therapeutic.
This was amazing.
Really fascinating.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For having us and for hosting us in this beautiful space.
What
really.
can we plug? Do you have exhibition in the States currently?
Well, now I'm mostly kind of did a lot of things in Israel. I showed all over Israel now in different kibbutzes in the periphery of Tel Aviv, which I think is so interesting too. I did a lot of shows now, like almost like a tour in different kibbutzes. And
the kibbutz girl is back to the kibbutz.
What is that?
You
Going back
girl,
to the
yeah.
core.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. There's no kibbutzes anywhere else, and it is a very interesting way of living. But it's good also to remember to do art for people to experience, to have a chance to experience something. It's also beautiful.
Where can people find kind of like the exhibits, the showings?
You have a website, I think.
A website or
Yes.
Instagram and all that.
Yeah,
Instagram is the best.
Okay, we'll put links
Yeah.
to your Instagram.
Sure,
and,
sure.
Search Miriam Cabesa, and I'm sure you
Okay.
guys will find
with a
it.
C.
It's like
Yeah.
Cabessa,
Okay,
and
Okay.
it's Miriam, Miriam.
Yeah.
perfect.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. for
Before we
being
go,
here. Yeah.
We have a collaboration with the Jewish Journal. They're at jewishjournal.com. They have articles, blogs, podcasts, so highly recommended. Check
Yeah.
them out. Also,
IsraelNationalNews.com, guys. Israel National News. We're on their Facebook page. They have a great website, IsraelNationalNews.com. And
we accept donations, so please help us out. Go to twingerb.com/donate and throw some
Support
money.
our art.
Yes, support. Exactly.
I don't know
Thank
if we
you so
can call
much.
it art.
Thank you.
No, I
No.
guess we can't.
Probably not.
Why not?
You know.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.